Hi everyone, I'm Donna Stellhorn, your practical astrologer, and today we are looking at the full moon. It's on December 4. This full moon is at 13 degrees of Gemini. We're going to do a short overview and then we're going to look at your sign and what's ahead for you. So aspects are the way that planets talk to each other, and with this full moon at 13 degrees, we see that it is not really talking to any other planets except between themselves, the sun and the moon. Now, the orb that I give for planets talking to each other is 7 degrees, and that I give for even aspects like semi-sextile and inconjunct. For a sesquiquadrant or a semi-square, I squeeze it down to 3 degrees. But you can see on this aspect grid here that while the sun is opposing the moon, they're not making any other aspects save one, which is that exact square to the north node and the south node. So I cleared off everything else off the chart, and so you can see this very clearly, how it's actually forming a grand cross. So a grand cross is 4 squares with 2 oppositions. So we can see that here are our squares, and then our oppositions, and that forms our grand cross. And what a grand cross feels like is that you are in perpetual motion. The one square leads to the next square, leads to the next square, leads to the next square. So here with this full moon, what we have is there's a constant choice over and over and over again, or in succession perhaps, which is, are you going to choose what is familiar and easy, south node, or are you going to do your life path but do the harder thing, pull yourself out of your comfort zone and move forward? And involved in this is the sun and moon, which is one side the moon is needs and the other side the sun is ego. And so there's a combat, this part of you going on that says, this is my identity. And so if your identity is the explorer, the adventurer, you're going to go towards that north node. If your identity is, I don't want to do anything new, I want it to be comfortable and easy, you're going to go towards that south node. And so from this perspective, everyone is getting this choice right now over this 2-week period of saying, everything else doesn't matter. What are you going to do with your life? What are your goals? What are your aspirations? And that will help you shift your identity and fulfill your needs. Now, the other planets aren't quiet completely. They're talking with themselves. So think of this as like you're at a party and you could decide who you're going to be at that party. Are you going to be the person who goes out and mingles with all of these people that you don't know, maybe finding new connections for a relationship, a friendship, some sort of business collaboration? Or are you going to stay by the punch bowl and just watch the crowd and stay to yourself? So that's the north node, south node, sun, moon dynamic going on. The rest of the party that's going on is these other planets. And one of the things that we see is this ongoing energy of this grand trine, which is starting to form at the time of this full moon. Is this always so beneficial? No, I don't think so. I think that it makes things easier, and that means that it makes the good things happen easier. It makes the bad things happen easier. So the bottom line about this full moon is that you're either saying, it doesn't matter what's going on in the world, I'm going to go do what I want to do. Or if you're waiting for the world to open up and the economy to shift, or for the phone to ring or something like that, it says don't do that, because you're doing that grand cross that says take action. And the way to take action is to go out and pursue what it is that you want. And as you do, you find out if that's truly what you want. Is it the north node that you're doing? Or is it the south node that you're doing? And if it's the south node, you say, that's not what I want. You let it go and you move on to the next thing. And you keep moving forward until this clunk, clunk, clunk of the grand cross turns into something that's smooth and moves you forward. Okay, Aries, let's take a look at your chart. So we're going to take this chart, and first what we're going to do is we're going to change the house system to a 0 Aries chart, and that is going to give us your chart. That is because I don't have your birth time, I don't know your location, and so this is for general predictions. And then let's clean this chart up a little bit and give us something that's a little easier to read. And what we see is a great deal of harmonious energy happening because we've got Venus, Sun, and Mars all in a fire sign. Additionally, we have the moon, also harmonious energy in an air sign, and that, of course, is that full moon. So the players here, the Venus, what you want, the Mars, the action you're going to take, all are harmonious. This is very much focused on expansion, as we were talking about in the intro, but also because this is in your 9th house. So this is expanding through education. This is expanding through exploration. This is expanding through adventure. And that is right in your wheelhouse. Now you do have a few planets right behind you. And when you have that sort of energy, it can kind of feel like, you know, like the teacher's breathing down your neck, like there's a father figure behind you ready to, you know, clamp their hand on your shoulder. That sort of energy, you've been dealing with that for a while, almost really on and off for a year. So it's not something necessarily you need to get used to. It is something, though, to realize that it's more likely that you saying, oh, you know what, I don't feel I'm doing this well enough. You're being too hard on yourself. You're not focused enough on moving forward, but trying to please some unknown figure behind you. That's not beneficial right now. So these two here could be utilized in a different way. The Saturn-Neptune conjunction, I've been talking about this the whole time, is about the blueprints for something. And for you, this is your blueprints of how to communicate spiritually with the universe, with your guides, with your angels, with your higher self. Whatever connection you have wanted to make, this is the time. And it's done through some sort of daily practice, whether that is sitting and meditating or doing a moving meditation like yoga or Tai Chi or doing some journaling, any sort of daily spiritual practice where there's some quiet, where the universe can talk to you and you can ask questions and get answers. You know, Aries, I always do you first, of course, being that you're the first sign, and so your predictions always have the most experimenting in it. And so I'm going back to this other chart because we're going to be looking at love and money for you, and I wanted you to be able to see the aspect grid in the corner so that if you needed to utilize that. So I'm going back to this chart. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, we're very much concerned with what's going on. Whoops, I lost my pen. What's going on in your 5th house. That 5th house is ruled by the sun. Of course, your planet ruler is Mars, and they are sitting together. Now, they are not a conjunction. They're too far away. Think of that as like two people at a party. They're just far enough away that when they talk, they can't really hear each other. But there is some harmony here because they're in the same sign. Additionally, the sun moves faster than Mars, so the sun is going to catch up with Mars. So there are some opportunities here, but it may take a little bit to get it going because, again, there's some distance right now. The opportunities for love would be if you did something different, if you went and had some sort of adventure, even a mini adventure like going to a new hiking group or going to a lecture, going to a different church or synagogue. Something like that could put you in the path of someone who's quite interesting. When it comes to existing love relationships, of course, we're looking at what's the relationship between the ascendant ruler and the descendant ruler, and that would be Venus and Mars. And here they are not necessarily talking with each other, but they are in the same sign. And so there's a basic understanding between the two of you right now. You get it. You're not quite. Sorry about the alarm. I'm making some bread, and it's a new recipe, and I needed to, punch down the dough. I'm experimenting with a new recipe, so because it never seems to come out right, and maybe it's because I'm at sea level. If you know, let me know. If you have a good bread recipe, that would be awesome. So we have the ruler of the ascendant and the ruler of the descendant in the same sign, and Venus does move faster than Mars, and so Venus is going to catch up. But right now, there's a general harmony between the two of you, even if you're off doing different things. You're basically heading in the same direction. Now, when it comes to your money, we are very concerned about what Venus is doing, and Venus right here is making a couple of aspects. It is making an out of sign opposition to Uranus, as well as an out of sign trine with Neptune, and that, I was going to point out another one, but that's okay. These are the big ones. So these two aspects, because they're out of sign, they mean that it's a little bit of a time to think out of the box. It is the things that you're not expecting are the money-making things. So that, and it's weird how it works, that sometimes the things that don't add up so mathematically are actually the things that do work. And with Venus always being your planet ruler for your money, it is about going after the things that you want, your passions. When you do that, then surprising things could happen, especially with an opposition to Uranus. The opposition to Uranus is quite strong because Uranus is back in Taurus, and Taurus is ruled by that Venus. So that is, if you push the button on the slot machine of life, you may not get exactly what you're expecting, but you are going to get some results, and then from those results you can then pivot or shift so that you can hone in on what it is you want. The important part of this is to continue to put things out there, continue to ship, because that's pushing the button, and to see what the results are. With an astrology reading, you get more information about who you are, your talents and abilities. You get to see what obstacles are ahead, and you can get a game plan for how to get past those obstacles and find success. So if you're interested in having a reading, there's a link in the description. Now, when it comes to money derived from business or investments, Venus is making a nice sextile with Pluto. That brings you some opportunities to make more money. There is some, perhaps investments you could do. There's new business you could get, especially if you go into the community, if you bring new information, if you adjust your marketing, maybe the words or the pictures or something about it, and that gathers people's attention. So a sextile is a great aspect for making more money over this next 2 weeks. And then when we look at money derived from a career, so that would be a paycheck, we want to see if Venus is making an aspect to Uranus, and of course we just mentioned it is doing an out of sign inconjunct. Now, being that it's out of sign may indicate that you get something a little bit different than an actual raise. That would be that you get a promise of a raise, or you get a bonus, but it's one time, or you get a higher commission percentage, or you get something that is of value. Maybe you just get a gift, and that gift, the gift card or whatever it is something that is actually has monetary value to it, and so therefore it was kind of like a raise. So there's some good energy here. It's out of sign though, so it's not exactly what you expect. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I recently did a class of predictions for 2026. There is now 17 videos that you can access. There is a link to get access to those videos. I also put out a weekly newsletter, an illustrated newsletter. And so if you like astrology and you love black cats, this is the newsletter for you. That newsletter is free. There's a link in the description, and I will see you in the next video.